Hey guys, thanks for tuning in with us on Biomass this week. We're obviously not on the same day we normally are at because last night was obviously Easter, so we were going to move the show to tonight in respect of that. But we will be back on our normal time next week on Sunday at the
I
usual
thought
time.
I thought it was an observance of my birthday.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's totally it, Zell.
Not your birthday, someone else's.
No, I mean that was my Saturday was my birthday, and we just need that whole weekend just needs to be observed. I mean, it's a big deal.
It's a national holiday now.
Raise the flag.
Yeah, or half mass. I mean, depending on how you want to see it. But anyways, so we are on episode 48, which is getting very close to 52. We've been at this for nearly a year now. I guess 11 months it would be, which is pretty wild. So, thanks guys for sticking with us and giving us a reason to keep going with it. It's been a trip. But yeah, Jaysyn unfortunately had a delayed flight, so he will hopefully be showing up the latter half of the show. We'll see how that goes. But for now, we're just going to get started and not let it drag on too long. So we'll probably start off with, as we normally do, with a CPM 1 update from Zell.
It's been kind of a midweek. I'm waiting to get I want to get stuff scheduled to get moving along with hopefully CPM 2 stuff, but we're kind of in that between period for hopefully seeing the next patch soon and waiting to see how that works out, and then reviewing matchmaking, which has been fun.
That's true. The matchmaking. What do you? Actually, we never did introductions. I'm sorry. So let's start with that.
This is what happens when we have the other host intro.
And when I'm very tired from a long day, so I apologize. So we'll start with introductions first. We'll go from the top with Cat Merc.
Hi, I'm Cat Merc, and I'm a foreign person, and I have popcorn because this is going to be amusing.
All right, Kane Spero.
Former member of the CPM, leader of the Negative Feedback Alliance.
And Luther Mandrix.
Hello, I am Luther Mandrix, a director in Wasteland Junk Removal in Dust and an EVE pilot in Wasteland Junk Removal in EVE.
Cool. Soraya?
I'm Soraya Zell, a member of CPM 1 and a co-host here on the show.
And I'm Pokey Draven from OSG Planetary Operations and a co-host here on Biomassed. So now that that's out of the way, and I'm totally frazzled, so yeah, the matchmaking, I haven't been following that too closely. I mean, obviously I've seen the effects of it, but did you want to talk a little bit about what he did sell, or do you know the exact details at all?
Well, I mean, what it comes down to is that this is something we've seen this behavior out of the matchmaker before, and it's one of the in a previous version, and I think a lot of matchmaking was rolled back because of these sorts of issues. Obviously people would get into matches before this hotfix almost instantly all the time, which is nice, but it also wasn't very balanced, and I think there's probably some tweaks that need to be done. I know there's been, a few people, one of the theories is that it's all because people are dropping out when they're facing actual competition in matchmaking, but it also doesn't seem like things are getting refilled correctly either. So, it seems like the system's going to need some serious tweaking yet. But there's a lot of people who've come in the last week on the forums and just been like, CCP killed Dust 514. I saw that thread today, and I'm like, it's like this has been a thing that everyone has wanted. Fix the proto stomping, stop making noobs face, veterans, etc. It's gonna take some work to get it right, and people are gonna have to be at least a little patient with it.
I think I saw that thread. Is that the one where the guy claimed he was in like a 3 versus 14 match for 5 matches in a row, and then Rattati went and pulled the logs and called him out on it?
I saw that somewhere too. I mean, there's been a lot. So, that's the thing. I think some people too forget is that you can. It's easy to exaggerate some stuff, and Rattati can actually pull the logs and tell you exactly what was going on. I know one of the common suggestions is that it's still doing 2 full squads versus all randoms, and one of the things people tend to forget is there's a lot of people who are not in the same corps who do squad together. And, Rattati can actually pull up those logs and say, no, that was a squad, and that was a squad, and that was a squad. You know?
Yeah, and the issue you were talking about before, I assume, is the fact that the numbers in the matchmaking tend to not be balanced, where you're going to end up at the end of the match with an uneven number of people on each team. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's been a lot of issues with 9 versus 12, stuff like that.
Well, it's even more than that. Sometimes you end up with like 14 v 16, and it's actually the matchmaker saying this is an even match. Like, I've been on the 14 before, and it was more. There was more people on the other side, but it still ended out playing pretty evenly. The thing that I've seen over and over and over again is the people leaving battle. Like, skirmishes ending up with 14 on one side and two people left. I think you end up, because one of the things CCP was trying to kill off was joining a match that's already over, right? So if you have joining a match that's already over being a no-no, then the matchmaker's not going to want to refill the match after a certain point, right? So if people are leaving the match, and then the matchmaker's saying, well, I'm told not to refill this match, you're going to end up with low player count matches. I think a lot of this comes down to the player community themselves needing to kind of realize that maybe we're going to have to deal with matches that are more difficult than we are used to. I don't know.
Yeah, I actually haven't experienced a ton of the uneven numbers. I mean, maybe one or two, it's not a huge deal, but I will say that in the matches where people don't leave and actually stick with it, there have been some of the more enjoyable matches, because even if it's a stomp, the other side keeps pushing. And I've just noticed a general increasing quality of the matches in the cases where they actually stay fairly even. The big issue that I've been experiencing is that I tend to come into matches late, usually with both teams into armor already. I think one day I played 5 matches, 3 of them which I came in when both teams were hitting armor. One match where they just got into shield, started maybe a quarter of the way into shield, and only one of the matches out of the 5 was actually from the beginning. So I haven't been seeing the really bad imbalance between players, but I'm still experiencing actually more than I was before joining matches that are already in progress, and that's typically odd for when you're running in a squad. Solo, I would get it quite a bit before, but running in a squad, I've never gotten it as much as I have in the last couple of weeks.
If they're going to be filling people in to matches later on, what they need to do is they need to roll back. At one point they implemented a change to where you get less ISK if you load into a match later on. I think to incentivize people not being as torn up about being put into a match later in the game, but still winnable, or still where they can do something, would be to give a full ISK payout to people that are put into those kind of matches.
Yeah, that's probably a fair point. I've joined some matches before where you're in there for maybe a minute, and it's like, well, that was a waste of time. I mean, I've actually had matches where I've joined in and hadn't had enough time to get enough war points to even get experience for the match, which is really frustrating.
Hey, this brings up something else. We need a new leaderboard stat called left battle early. We all know that we have people in our community that they don't want their win-loss to be bad, and they'll leave a match early so that they can pad their stats. This here would help show the other half of the picture if we have the left battle early stat.
That's really easy to fix. Just make it so when you leave a battle, it counts as a loss.
I was thinking about that, Kat, and the only thing is people might actually do that to modify their stats quickly. Join battles and then leave them in order to lower their mood rating. So that would be a potential downside to doing a stat
here's
punishment.
The thing. I'm not sure what, if it's looking at that actual number to calculate mu, like the one that's displayed on the client, but you could count, if you could either count it as a loss but not lower the mu, or potentially even every time someone leaves a match, slightly artificially raise mu so that the more they leave matches, the harder the matches they get queued into.
It's like Dark Souls 5.4.
They should just be shamed by having lots of left matches, and then the community can see
At this,
You do like right on the forums, just have a counter next to their name, how many matches they've left since the patch where it's implemented.
and there's something else that I thought was actually, it could be a fairly simplistic way to fix it. If somebody leaves a match and then they immediately queue back in, just put them in the same match over and over again until they get the idea.
Which you can do unless someone else fills in the match instead.
And not only, naturally, you wouldn't, in most cases, you wouldn't actually want to fill people in. So, like, say a battle's halfway over and then somebody leaves, then put them, and then...
That'd actually be kind of convenient for the annoyance of getting disconnected. You just restart the client and sign, queue back in, and
that's
right
one
back into the match.
Exactly, that's one benefit of it. And put it this way, if a squad will have a certain mood rating, right? So if the squad changes numbers because let's say, oh gosh, we didn't pick up Bobby, let's go grab Bobby and put him in the squad, their mood rating would have changed, so then they're no longer flagged to go back into that same match. So if it's people that are leaving match in order to pick somebody up, that's one thing. But, and someone was saying, well, what if that spot's filled up? Well, then what you've done is it keeps on putting them in that match and then it can't. So you basically have put a punishment timer the duration of that match for leaving battle.
Well, that's pretty typical in, at least in MMOs, where if you back out of an instance or something, that it will punish you by putting a timer on there so you can't rejoin. So in reality, it would have been better just to ride the match out than back out because it takes less time than the punishment timer. Now that's typically a good idea, but I do have concerns that people getting disconnected would be punished unjustly then because they'd be forced to wait for something that's not their fault.
Yeah, it'd be a balancing act. It would have to be like X number of times left within X time, X number of times left during X duration of time equals punishment type of deal.
Yeah, I think that the first infraction it would be a bit too harsh.
Yeah, I don't mind them leaving early. I just want them to be shamed. That's all.
The problem is whether or not some people care or not about that. Like people, if you directly impact someone's playtime, I think you're going to get more of a result. I mean, I know one of the other ideas was kind of give them a carrot. So the more matches you complete in a sequence, you get a modifier, and that increases your payout and your SP and stuff like that for going through and completing the matches that you've joined. I just think that this is maybe a situation where a stick is better than a carrot. I mean, maybe you do both.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I know the killing friendlies in faction warfare and getting kicked out of faction warfare, when it happened by accident, guys just jumping out of the drop ship and it counted as kills and I got kicked out, it was like, man, I can't run with my guys the rest of the night. I don't know about the stick with this.
Another thing you could do on the other side of this is perhaps have the game take a snapshot of what the mu difference is between one side versus the other. And so if you have a situation where the match becomes extremely imbalanced, you actually get a bonus for being on the lower end of that scale for sticking with it at the end because you've got a big difference in like player count or however it works out. It would encourage people to actually stay in the match and finish it, even if they're having a rough time due to a team imbalance. Yeah,
Cross, in Skype, he's got something really good here. That some people back their squad out because one of their guys didn't get pulled in, or was DC'd. So, yeah, that happens to us a lot. So, yeah, I can understand that.
If they were slated to go in that match, though, and then they fix the DC and then they go back in, maybe they get loaded back into that match, though. If they're flagged to go back in that match, they go back in, kind of like, so it, in a way, putting people back in the same match may be a way to make it to where if you have a DC, you can actually get back in to that battle.
I'm just wondering why Cross is on Skype and not in the show with us.
He has a technical. He has to get his technical equipment together, which apparently is going to take some minutes. So he should be joining us later on, though.
Yeah. You actually raise a pretty good point on that one, Kane. I know that in other games I've played, if you get disconnected, it does kind of reserve your spot in the match or the instance and lets you, to an extent. I mean, obviously, if you're gone for 10 minutes, it wipes your spot, but it would allow people to join back in and also prevent people from backing out because it's going to throw you right back in where you came out of. So I think that actually might be good. I'm not sure if the Dust servers have the capability to actually handle that, but that would I think solve actually a lot of issues.
There's just kind of a little bit of a joy, though, in the idea of someone like going, "Oh, I don't want to fight these people." They leave match and they go back in, and it's the same people again, and you keep on seeing them appear and then disappear, and then get back in the battle, and then leave the battle, and then get back in the battle. It could be kind of hilarious.
I actually remember instances of that back in closed beta when we had a smaller player base, and people would leave and then come back in and leave and come back in because they're trying to get a different map or whatever. It was pretty funny, but like I said, I think it does raise a really good point that it would force you to actually finish the contract, so to speak, rather than just selecting a new one.
Yeah.
So any other comments on the matchmaking and problems you've noticed or solutions you've thought of?
Yeah, personally, I like it. Here, I just like it. Even when it's off balance, I've enjoyed those games also.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, when the player count actually remains even or fairly even, I've been enjoying a lot more evenly matched battles in terms of player skill and aggressiveness and whatnot. I feel like it's no longer a stop, because I mean honestly it's boring for me personally to beat the hell out of the other team. It's about as bad as getting my face kicked in. It's much better when you feel like it's a fair fight for the most part, and it's actually more interesting rather than let's stare at the red line and see who comes out first sort of deal. So overall, I think it needs some polish, but I think it's moving in the right direction, even if some of the current systems got messed up in the process. So I think that they're watching it pretty closely, and hopefully we'll get those fixes soon. So moving along, I believe it was Aeon Amati that found on the EVE test server some items that are related to the skin system Rattati have been talking about in the past. Did you want to talk a bit about that, Zal? You probably are more in the know than we are.
I know no things.
Things?
No, it's I mean, it's test client, magic crystal ball stuff, etc., etc., etc. I mean, it's you got to bear in mind that when Rattati says something, it's generally at least it's either ballpark feasible or it's like something that they're sure they can do. So it's in the case of skins, it was like when something that they were able to get working. So they're testing it. They have items on CC. Stuff shows up on CC all the time. They commit something to the test branch and it ends up on that server. It's nothing new.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great thing once they get it running. Cosmetic items are pretty much a staple in any free-to-play game, and they're the best kind of commodity to buy in a cash shop because they don't actually affect the gameplay, and you can sell them shamelessly without really breaking anything. So I'm really excited. I think this will be good for Dust, as well as giving players more customization, which we've been asking for a very long time.
I can't wait till the forum post that says, because you were orange, you had an advantage over me. It'll
happen. Oh, for sure.
We're still fighting lag switching threads, man, in 2015.
Yeah, that doesn't work in Dust at all.
But this guy today on the forums, he was very insistent that he's sure, and we're all saying no. And I think he was trolling, though. I think it was a troll alt. So
yeah, I just can never believe it when somebody's stupid enough to think.
I don't. The thing is that like there sometimes a forum comment is so dumb that it's very clear that it has to be a troll, because if they were that dumb, they would not have been able to figure out how to spawn in Dust.
Blah 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 has fell and died.
Yeah. Anyway, note about this skins thing. Rattati said that we should start gathering LP for a reason, and he, on the same day, mentioned something about factional skins. So I'm guessing it won't be Aurum only, or maybe they made it so you pay both LP and Aurum.
There mentioned faction LP skins being a thing, so if that happens, woo!
They'll probably have some OR ones, some LP ones. They might do ones for event rewards or stuff like that. Once the system's in place, it's pretty easy for them to cook up stuff for various things.
The crazy.
Go ahead.
I was saying the crazy thing is the core reason behind them starting the whole skin thing was the fact that Rattati was like, oh, look, we can get a performance boost out of potentially using the system.
That's what I was about to say. I just wonder how much of a performance boost is it?
anything that they can squeeze out of the game is probably, awesome. And
Oh yeah, I'm
squeezing
sure.
it forever,
they probably reached a point where optimization is like 1 frame there, 1 frame here, stuff like that. Maybe.
Well, I mean, just looking at the database or just on proto-fits, I'm always a little disturbed by how many, assault suits that are all identical but have a different entry for each variant because it's, got a different color on it. I think that, I don't know a ton about server architecture, but I think cutting down the number of entries is going to help one way or another. I mean, it may not be noticeable, but I think that the fact that there's any advantage at all beyond, obviously, the cosmetic portion of it is going to be fantastic for the game.
It'll make cosmetics more marketable, too.
That's why EVO's doing that, though. Yeah.
Well, not to mention that if, for people that already have BPOs and don't need another BPO of the same suit, it gives them the option probably to get a cheaper just buying the skin for the color opposed to buying, a whole new suit for the color like, most of us did for the Quaif suits. I think everyone at this point pretty much has a Dragonfly assault suit one way or another, or a few, and then ended up buying a Caldari Quaif suit anyways, knowing that it was basically redundant, but it was just for the color. So for me personally, it'd be great to be able to buy just the cosmetic portion rather than having to buy the whole thing.
I really hope something they do is with those legacy skins. I hope they actually go through and break out. Let's say you have a Quaif BPO, they break it out and they give you like the BPO utility suit and then the skin, so you can then apply those skins to whatever you want. I think that would be a nice gesture to people who have previously kind of paid into the cosmetics that have been present in the game so far, thus far.
Yeah, I would like to take my Covenant Caldari Assault and have that red on a Sentinel.
From looking at the server, the way the server list is up, it looks like if you have a Caldari medium skin, it's going to only go to Caldari mediums. If you have a Cal Sentinel skin, a Cal Heavy skin, it's only going to go to like Commandos and Sentinels. I don't think you're going to be able to go cross, because if you think about it, they share the same base model. So like all Caldari medium suits are Caldari medium suits in terms of like the model itself.
2 things. One, I just counted the amount of proto suits alone of medium frames. 65 under proto fits.
Yeah, that's insane.
Unique proto suits. The other thing is, I'll say the best way to identify a Logi from an assault is the color. And if you can just use an assault skin on a Logi, doesn't that kind of break the visual thing?
That's actually a pretty good point. I didn't think about that.
Yeah,
but it might
I was
just
assuming he's just going to allow a skin per specialization.
Yeah, keep in mind this is all Crystal Ball test server stuff. So, that's just what the test server said. I'm not sure if it'll be frame specific or role specific. I'm not sure. But you do raise a good point that it does kind of remove that visual effect. Though I guess at the same time you could, take a red color and put it on a Logi, or take a red color and put it on an Assault, and the same thing's going to happen, even if they're unique skins.
Yeah, I don't see that. Yes, it could be an issue, but at the same time, I don't see it being like when you point a weapon at somebody, you're going to be able to tell what suit they are as well.
Yeah, but sometimes it's just simply not an option to just go check out all the enemies on your screen and find the best target by doing that. You have to make quick decisions.
The repair beam might also be a giveaway a bit as well.
Logis aren't always running a repair beam during battle. It's often better to just use your gun.
Yeah, I would like to have skins for the guns also.
This would be awesome.
Technically, skins do exist for the game, but not in the sense that for these suits. I don't think that's necessarily something tech that they've done or evaluated. Because if you think about it, you got a Pyrus assault rifle looks different than a basic assault rifle, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but it does it the same way suits do. So
it's surely not outside of the realm of capability. You can get Quaif guns now, but you probably, my guess is that you're not going to see as much of a performance difference from switching to that for weapons, and they'll have to come up with some way to, kind of associate a slot with a weapon, and it's it's probably something that they could do if the skin system works really well for them, but it's just you can't do everything at once.
Well, If it created a situation, though, where they could create customizable weapons, and because there's also a monetary benefit attached to it, that would be awesome. Because I know customizable weapons has been something we've been wanting for a really long time. I want to put this scope on this gun, or I want to put so on and so forth.
Right, but that is a huge project. It's a big project. I mean, your mid step there would be probably putting like a skin slot on a gun.
I'm imagining changing skins for guns is about the same as changing skins for suits. So if they were smart, they would
It's
implement
pretty
that
similar.
at the same time.
You'd have to make a slot that was a skin module slot of sorts that was tied to the gun as opposed to the suit.
But talking about scopes and shit, that's completely different.
Yeah.
Though likely not exceptionally hard from an Unreal standpoint. I mean, it's a common feature.
It's more of a
first-person
time
shooters
standpoint.
The UI issue is what it would be. It would come down to UI.
Yeah. I mean, our fitting UI is already fairly extravagant, and
bloated.
It'd be adding even more.
Yeah, the frame rate just tanks when you try to open the filling screen during gameplay. So.
Today, Rattati just posted in the think tank about the possibility of corporate skins with logos.
Yes, please.
I don't know if he's saying logos per se. I think he's basically saying that a corporation could submit to CCP, hey, we want it to have these textures, and then CCP would produce a skin that would only work if you were in that corp or something like that. So you could basically, as he put, Dust Uni could say we want a black and gold, I forget what their colors are, but like black and gold skin, and then CCP could then market that skin, and it would only be equipable if you were in Dust Uni. Now he also says that he doesn't have the tech for this yet. It's purely just thinking out loud. It's not even considered a possibility at this point, but it's interesting to say the least.
Well, I would imagine it's not that far off. Once you have the skin system implemented, just make it so it's thicker that like the skin only works if you're in this corp.
I would actually like it if it was like a blank skin, and like a corp could set, this is what our corporate drop suit looks like, and then when you're in that corp, your blank skin will auto change to whatever that is.
That's the way. That's the way World of Warcraft does it, actually.
Really?
The guild tabard just looks like a white blank tabard, and then it picks up your logo and colors from your guild settings. That's the way WoW does it. It doesn't sound like, because corp logos in Dust and Eve are constructed from shapes and stuff, I'm not sure how impossible that would be. It probably wouldn't be exceptionally bad. I think they probably wouldn't want to load all the different combinations of corp logos into the live game for performance reasons, but at the very least they could probably take the colors used in the logos and apply those to a suit.
The ore. Think of the ore.
Well, here's another thing. I don't really know how their texturing system works, but could we receive the blank texture and then have people from our corps who know how to do so to just modify it and then submit it?
Probably not, because they have their own software for working with that, and
probably.
It's not like you can just Photoshop it, because it's using patterns and textures that are in the game, and so you're really filling in blanks. You're saying, I want this color of this pattern on this spot on the suit, as opposed to just having a texture map file that you just Photoshop.
Yeah, that makes me think back of the Quaif suits too, because there was materials properties to those textures as well.
Right. Yeah. They have glow texture. They have glow effects, stuff like that.
Now, every suit would have to be bought from CCP for Orm. Who knows? Maybe 58,000 for a medium, 58,000 for a sentinel, and hey, they got to make money, right? So you could have a blank sentinel, expensive. And then bam, it's got your logo. Hey,
that's $28 for a skin. I don't think you realize how people price skins.
I think the skins would be much. I think if CCP went the skins route, I would think that the utility suits would continue to exist, but they would actually be more expensive. Like, so you take whatever currently a suit costs in terms of a BPO, and you would divvy it up. And I would think that you would actually look at probably 30% of the cost being the skin, and then 70% of the current cost being like the actual utility of the suit. I mean, they could go 50-50 on it, but which would still even be better. I mean, it would be a better situation. But I would expect the cost to be more towards the utility side of it than the cosmetic.
Yeah, I agree. I think the skin should be no more than $3 to $5. If it goes any more than that, it's just going to be ridiculous. I mean, I'll quote the little Big Planet model where they sell all their DLC for like $1, and people won't think twice about spending $1. I wouldn't think twice about spending $3 on a skin and dust. I would just buy them because it's $3. But you start getting like $5, $6, $7. I'm like, I think honestly, I'm not in marketing, thank God, but they would probably make more money overall by selling a large quantity of cheaply priced skins than they would if they sold a few very expensive ones.
It depends on their conversion rates, really. What percentage of the population actually buys ore, and I would see any kind of skin as like a must-buy kind of deal.
Yeah, it has to be a point where it just makes sense to a player. Like, if I want this color, the price point is such that I don't have to really think about how expensive it is. Again, I don't know their marketing details, but I really, really hope that they're extremely affordable. Like I said, $3 to $5 seems very reasonable for a skin, depending on how many suits it affects. Obviously, I don't want it to be like it only affects this tier of this suit for $3. That's pointless. It needs to cover a number of suits, but it would still be affordable.
I would make myself look like a standard suit in a proto suit. Lol.
Well, that's another interesting point that someone has brought up before, is that there are instances of suits that have, I believe, unique slot layouts. Like, I think the skin weaves have a different slot layout than their equivalent frame suit. And should those skins be extracted, or should they remain as an exclusive to that suit because they're kind of a collector's item from the closed beta? What do you guys think?
The skin you're talking about, for example, would be the skin weaves, that kind of thing?
Yeah, exactly.
How about both?
Skin weaves are inferior, though, to other BPOs.
Yeah, I mean, the cosmetic value
right?
of the skin would actually have more value than the suit itself.
Yeah,
I mean, I would say for those suits, though, whether or not you also get the skin as well, I'm not sure. But I think the way you would do it is the skin slot on the suit would be a yellow module. So you can't remove it, but you could always replace it, kind of deal.
Yeah. That would seem like how you would handle. Well, I don't know, because here's the thing: is you want what you want in most cases is you want to for performance reasons, you want to reduce the number of suits that people are playing with without removing the choices that they have. So you don't want to have, like, if you currently have, like, say, a Quaif BPO, and that's a standard suit BPO with a Quaif skin. You don't want to still have a Quaif suit with a yellow boxed module in it, for example, because you don't want to have a different suit item for each and every skin that you previously had.
Yeah.
You want to get everyone up to, you have your standard BPOs, and then you put your skin module on it. I would almost say, and this is, I don't know if they're going to do this or if they're not going to do this, but I would almost say that because militia BPOs are the most useless thing in the name of all useless things in the world of there being so many standard level, meta level BPOs, I would almost say that it would be worth it to just upgrade all of the militia grade BPOs to standard BPOs when you credit back everyone suits and skin modules.
I don't know, though. They'd have to be skill free still.
That's a good point.
Yeah, the one heavy that is militia has a high slot. The standard Amar basic does not have a high slot. So there's a difference there in power with a forge gun. And on the other hand, talking about the skin weaves, they used to be white. they're a little bit green now. I'm kind of
I
thinking
think
they don't have that right.
I think the white might have been an accident. I think in at least some cases, suits being white were the cases of their textures not being applied. I don't know which those were. I mean, I'm pretty sure advanced level suits are intentionally white, but I do think in some cases suits were white accidentally. I'm not sure because I don't remember. But if there's like two suits that are like BPOs with skins and maybe they have a slight fitting difference, in slot layout, I would rather they just give you the better of the two slot layouts for both and just reduce the number of extraneous suit configurations.
Well, the thing is, some of the skin weaves, like it's again, like the Amar one has a unique slot layout, as does like the militia Ninmatar one, because it's actually got two. It's got the speed of an assault, but it's actually got two equipment slots. So there's. I would say kill off the easy targets first, like, and only that, it makes me wonder what happens with the BPCs, like Ansoma suits and stuff like that. Would you get a?
You can't take BPCs and turn them into skins because those skins are a permanent thing and BPCs are one-offs. And if you have a BPC and you want the skin, you probably would need to buy the skin.
Well, that's a
what I'm saying is, can you get a BPC skin module out of it?
No, I would just leave BPCs alone.
That's a self-correcting issue because as people use the BPCs, they slowly disappear from the field, and eventually you don't have to load them anymore.
And a lot of people don't even, if it's like a unique/rare BPC, a lot of people are never going to field it anyways because they don't want to lose it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's my position. That's where I would be, because I have like one of every skin, one of every like design that's ever existed. So can't wait till trading happens so I can trade it off to a baggage handler, is what I'm going to call that character.
Oh, just so that you can find stuff easier in your item list.
Yes, that will perform, and for performance issues.
Yeah, I miss my Type 2 Sentinels from closed beta with the more shield and less armor that were Amarian. They were nice.
Type 2 suits. Such nostalgia.
Well, those were basically pseudo-racial suits. They were playing
with,
I know, more or less.
I missed them.
We actually do have a Sentinel with more shield and less armor. It's called a Kaldari suit. You know. It may not look Amarian, which is important to some people I know, but...
What I imagine two suits to be would be more extreme versions of the racial affinity. Like, for example, the Galente will have a reduced armor but highly increased rev, or Amar remove the rev, increased armor, or shit like that.
You see, this would be a perfect time for Jaysyn to come back and kick the door in and start screaming out pirate suits, because that's pretty much what you would end up with. And it's I'll fill in for him here and say that basically pirate suits could fill that
combination role of multiple races, but whatever.
Well, but my point is that you could take that and take them to the extreme, like you said, where it's a mixture of a style, but to the nth degree, where it's extremely specialized in a certain direction. I think you could get a similar effect with that as well.
Yeah, I would want a few highly specialized suits, because honestly, at this point, most suits can do what other suits can as long as you have the right modules.
It just makes me wonder if they're going to be able to reconcile the way skills apply to suits, though, to do pirate suits.
Yeah, that's the big tech question, is if you can actually have a skill apply to multiple suits at the same time in that regard.
Oh god, if they could change that aspect, one skill could actually apply in multiple different ways.
Well, guys, how about this? You know how in Eve you need like a Kaldari and a Galante to equal a pirate faction. You have to skill into both frigates to the same level. How about we use the basic drop suits, and if you go to prototype in a basic Amarian and a basic heavy Kaldari, that equals a Mordu's Legion prototype.
Luther, that's the problem. The skill system doesn't allow for that. How they apply suits to skills and modules and shit like that.
Yeah, basically in Eve, the ship modifies the effect of the skill, where in Dust, the skill modifies its effect on the suit, which is problematic because the skills become very specific to a certain suit, and you can't have, secondary bonuses that apply to a different version of the same suit. Like, if you had like a Type 2 Caldari Assault, you couldn't give it a different skill bonus with the Caldari Assault skill. It would have to be an entirely different skill. It's totally backwards from how it is in Eve, and it's been something I've been harping about since closed beta, I think.
The design freedom that they would get if there was some way to unring that bell, but I think it may be down to the way the UE3 works, unfortunately.
They would have to redo pretty much the entire thing in Katma, which would be quite annoying, I would imagine.
And cost prohibitive, I'm sure.
Yes. Annoying as in cost prohibitive and takes a lot of time.
Okay, guys, now, alright, let's theorycraft here. Supposedly they're working on Legion. Maybe they can actually fix this thing that
Legion
we're
is
talking
dead.
about right now.
Rest in pieces.
Yeah, I'm not putting any hope in Legion. I just pretend it doesn't exist, and if it happens, that's cool. But yeah, Dust is Dust.
Well, we have one
I
CPM here who knows.
would totally play a CCP card game based on infantry, though.
It's I have
Isn't
heard
that
that
a match free game? God damn it, CCP changing your mind.
I think that we've already proven that Eve Legion is indeed a strategy-based card game. It's a mix of Dungeons and Dragons and something else. I forget, but
I would play that. I'm just saying.
It actually has a LARPing element to it as well.
It's why Denny Fleetfoot has been behind this whole movement for a long time. He's been cheerleading
Just
for
copy
Legion.
Hearthstone and turn it into an Eve version.
That would actually probably do pretty well, honestly. I'd play it.
Well, Eve's had a card game before.
Yeah, but it's better if it's like an actual computer game like Hearthstone. It's more approachable, I think.
I've actually I have tried Hearthstone. I installed it because I wanted to see what it was, and then I installed it like 8 or 10 months ago, and I still have not tried it. I've never even opened the program.
It's very fun.
Yeah,
I think it's very fun, and I never liked card games, so.
Yeah, guys. Anyway, well, we could call it Legion, or we could call it Dust 514 PS4 edition. If they can take this aspect and think, to put those attributes to the suits instead of to the skills, there may be time to do a 2.0 of Dust on another system, even if it's a PS4.
At this point, the vibe that I'm getting is that it's the most likely outcome would be if Dust goes to x86 architecture, that it would be via the Unreal 4 engine. Whatever that entails in terms of changing the base of the game and how the game works and all that stuff.
They'll probably have to rewrite a lot of it, which would be a perfect opportunity to change some things if they're already at it.
Yeah, it comes down to basically, how much money is CCP willing to actually put into a project like that of moving it over to a new platform, and would it actually be a port, or would it be a rebuild or a partial rebuild? I think a port is far more likely. I don't know if they're going to want to put many resources into changing core systems. I imagine the skill system is pretty.
Dust with 60 FPS, which that's enough for me to continue playing it.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was telling Kane the other day that I'm literally using my PS3 for Dust only, and it's an old fatty PS3. Like, it wants to die. It wants to go into a little pine box and never be seen again. So, if they can move Dust onto a new platform, whatever it is, just off the PS3, that would be great. Because if that thing dies, I don't want to buy a new one just to play a free-to-play game.
Pretty much my position.
Yeah, I'm in the same place. Like, Dust is the only thing I really play on the PS3. And, I mean, the other day, the fan started sounding like a turbo engine, so I'm a little concerned.
Clean it!
I clean mine regularly. It's scary.
Are you telling me there's too much dust on my PS3?
Yes, yes I am.
Guys, you have to use a vacuum cleaner per Sony. I've called them. You got to take a vacuum cleaner and suck that thing out. Do not blow. Do not blow it.
That is a really, really bad idea.
Well, that's what they told me.
No, you're not supposed to use vacuums in electronics. Vacuums will create short circuits. You can fry a computer if you vacuum inside it.
Correct.
Like that's a serious thing. You can look it up online.
Hello, Iron Wolf.
A vacuum will allow electricity to jump the gaps between conductors, and it will cause a very bad day for your electronics.
I just had a bizarre.
There are ESD vacuums you can use for electronics.
Just had a bizarre image though of a canned air that's actually canned nothingness, so it sucks things into it somehow.
But just like don't I don't want someone listening to this podcast to be like, okay, the Biomassed folks said go vacuum out your PS3. I did it, now it doesn't work. Don't do that.
Stop.
Know what you're doing before you open up your PS3 and stick a vacuum.
Stop our plan to get everyone to go to PS4. We can get Dustin PS4.
Hey
guys, vacuum your PS3s.
Yeah, I'm just telling you what I heard from Sony when I had a problem with my one PS3.
When exactly has Sony had good ideas?
Yeah, that's right.
When was that Sony had good ideas? It's been a while, man.
So they told me don't use canned air on it, and it's like, man, how do we clean it? You know?
That's like what canned air is for. I don't know why they would tell you not to use canned air. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's a weird configuration, but it's basically a computer, and there's a reason that you use canned air for computers and not vacuums.
And the PS3 is so easy to open. All you need is the tool, the specialized tool, and you open it, and it's like Legos. It's very easy to open. It's not like a laptop that taking it apart is an art.
I can take apart a laptop and put it back together in about an hour.
You haven't seen my laptop.
I can. Well, maybe it depends. You might have one of those goofy, stupid ones that's glued together, but in most cases, take it apart, put it back together in an hour. It's fun. I've done it a lot though, so that's why.
Yeah, I think the PS3 is like one screw basically holding the faceplate on, and that just slides off, and everything's in there. It's actually really surprisingly simple inside.
There are 4 screws under the stand, and there's a screw under the the drive. Oh, come on, I forgot the name of that. The thing where there are discs. That place has a specialized screw that you need a special thing to remove. You remove that, you open it, and you basically have an open PS3.
Which does void your warranty, I believe.
What warranty?
How many PS3s are actually still under manufacturer warranty?
Hey, some people buy that super ultra extended warranty,
Oh, we need Iron Wolf to introduce himself.
Yes. We have a new challenger has appeared, Iron Wolf Saber.
Hello, I'm Iron Wolf Saber, a member of CPM1 and former aviation electrician, so...
There you go, guys. He's a freaking expert.
Yeah.
So what were we talking about? Skins or something like that?
Kind of lost our direction.
Oh, that's right. We're talking about how skills are applied to drop suits and why it's terrible and needs to change.
Yeah.
Actually, that was a game design decision. We had it during closed beta in that manner, where certain vehicles would actually require multiple skills.
Yeah, that is true.
But game design streamlined it so that it will be a little bit more sensical for a new player to approach Dust 514.
Yeah, but the problem is how they implemented it means that you can't apply skills from multiple.
So Caldari Assault,
Yeah.
you can't have 2 different types of Caldari Assault suits. One that gets a bonus to the rail rifle, and one that gets a bonus to something else.
From one skill.
We got more than one assault rifle.
It makes me sad that if that was a game design decision, that makes me very sad-faced.
I guess what you could do, which you just
We
add
have
a
to do
secondary
another
bonus.
introduction.
Yeah, you put just
All right.
one, but fine. Okay, go ahead, Cross.
What? No, I'm a
Introduce
ghost. I don't
yourself.
talk.
Come on.
Intro.
No one knows me.
Intro.
Fine. I'll actually do this the real way. I'm Cross2, member of CPM1 and OSG Planetary Operations, and I am late to the show because someone else was doing a radio show with his laptop.
So they're cheating on us then?
Someone stole his mic.
I'm just incredibly open-minded is all.
Oh, okay. Well, as long as. But yeah, welcome. So I guess what you could do is you could add a secondary bonus to the assault suit to give it a different bonus for a different weapon, which wouldn't really open up a secondary suit, but it would make it a little more wide-reaching in terms of what the bonus would affect. I guess is an option, but again, it's just like Iron Wolf said that we had the requirements for multiple skills to use something, but I don't think they applied bonuses back then. They were just requirements to actually unlock other skills, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if the ability to actually have cross skills
delete
works
commando
ever.
suits and give assaults the additional light weapon slot and be done with it.
Well, we still do have
I say that just to mess with Pokey though.
I know he does. Go ahead, Iron Wolf.
Well, we can still cleverly apply skills from multiple skill books still. For example, we have armor modules. You get armor fitting optimization as well as their own skill use. But overall, the process of redoing the entire skill tree to account for multiple skills will be a major pain in the ass. I don't think Rotati has time for all of that.
So not multiple skills, but just at one skill doing multiple things is what we're getting at.
Yeah, like in ships,
that should be feasible.
One skill. You can have one skill that changes across ships. It does.
Right, like you check so put it this way, you check the Caldari assault suit, and the Caldari assault suit would actually say, by training that, when you train this skill, like every level of this skill and this skill gives me this bonus. Rather than when you look at the skill and the skill says every level of me gives you this bonus and this bonus.
I guess what you could do is, just using pirate suits as an example, you could say, Caldari Assault skill gives this bonus for Caldari Assault suits, and then it gives a different bonus for Garista suits or Mordu suits on the skill. It won't say it on the suit itself, but I guess the effect would be the same, assuming that it can work that way and affect different types of suits.
If they could change it to the suit itself, though, it would just... Oh, man. Because think about it. Think about how many times they've tried to balance things, and it's been... They have to go back and change the skill. So, like, the skill itself loses or gains its utility during balance passes, rather than maybe variations of suits gaining or losing utility during balance passes.
I suppose the effect would be similar, though.
I don't think that within the code, at least as it was explained to me back in the beta phase, I don't think that that's a plausibility without reworking it from a pretty basic level.
Yeah, that was kind of my understanding of the system as well. It was like this when we got here.
Yeah. Rotati has said that will be on his tombstone. There's an easy workaround, at least for things like pirate suits, however. It doesn't provide the same dynamic flexibility for other things, unfortunately. But for something like that, you can simply have another tab for those skills, the cross-class type things, and add a new skill that has the previous two books, like Caldari and Galente or whatever the combination may be, as requirements, and then have whatever that new skill entry is, apply the bonuses that you want. And it's a fairly direct, straightforward thing to do.
Yeah, it's a workaround.
Drop Suit Command 4 and Garista Assault Suit 1.
Yeah. Unlock the skill that does the thing that you actually want it to do.
Yep.
Still makes me sad-faced.
Yeah, but unfortunately, at this stage, with the given resource, we might have to go with, workarounds. If it gets the desired effect, even if it's not exactly pretty, it gets the desired effect, which sucks, but is the reality of it, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, 80-20 rule. If you can get 80% of the effect with 20% of the effort, it's probably better than 90% of the effect with, 90% of the effort.
You just don't want to have things that are too cartoony and off the wall. I really hate heavy-handed balancing of passes.
Which is why Mayos need stacking penalties.
To its current state, so...
Mayos are great. Get away from my Mayos.
They're great. They're fine once they have proper stacking penalties.
Kane just wants to have his 5 Mayos and then put a jump pack out when those come out and then just launch into orbit and take out the U-ship himself.
Yes, because I'll have enough strength with the Mayos to punch through the hull.
We won't get an orbital cannon. I'll make myself into an orbital cannon.
We'll just have the effect that if you have too many Mayos on, it actually makes your muscles bulge out of the suit and your hitbox increases proportionally. So the scouts look like heavies as they're bouncing around.
Can you imagine a master of scouts at the size of a heavy?
A gorilla jumping 30 feet in the air.
Hey, I tell you, on a real note, I like the Caldari Heavy with 4 complex hand-to-hand mods on it. Man, I just love jumping around with the forge gun and assault rifles.
Well, that actually works pretty well with the if you use the breach forge, you can actually then move fairly well because you can hop. You just can't walk for some reason.
They really just need to just go and like make it to where the breach forge gun creates a 90% move reduction rather than 100% move reduction. And I mean that, or take away the little jump thing. But that's the whole pet peeve that I've had. Like the whole.
Well, considering that the gun isn't really that great to begin with, except in very specialized situations, I don't think easing up on that movement reduction a little bit would exactly break the game. But anyways, what else are we going to talk about? So should we dive into PC, or is that going to turn into a fiasco that's going to last an hour?
That's a whole episode. That's
Yeah.
a 2 hour block.
Hey guys,
You guys, you're so don't be afraid.
Hey guys, can I ask one question? All right. The lore and the feel of New Eden in our games. Is there any way that the developers can actually put on, let me see, the buildings that go in the slots in the map, paintings or posters or things that relate to that region of space? If you're in Mimitar space, have on the wall advertisements for Mimitar corpse or ships or things. If you're in Amar space and you're fighting, on some of the walls you would have religious items or pictures of the Empress or whatever to increase the feel of the immersion of the game. You know,
That'd be pretty
That's
expensive.
x86.
I mean, you need you first of all you need art teams working on that stuff, and
Teams.
you would need like a socket type of thing for that almost. You
And you
kind of
need
have
RAM.
like mini sockets to put art on. That's more textures you're loading into the client. So just I really don't have this many problems with this map, but imagine your Galante research facility with a ton of extra textures loading on it.
Plus, it might be a little
Next
strange.
gen.
It might be a little strange to see, Amar things hanging.
Amar
in a-
religious symbols on the Galante research facility.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of the area of space, I'd imagine that whatever you had in there would match the race of the structure you're in. So, which is basically what we have now. So I don't know if that would make much sense.
In the future, there is a lot of stuff I would love to see be more dynamic on maps, but that's not going to happen on the PS3. I'd love, like, one of those irksome things is I can't buy that this is these are all different, the same basic structure on like 5 different planets, because all of the crates are in the same spot. Why would all the crates be in the same spot? Mix some variety
Quantum
into
entanglement.
that sort of stuff.
I would like to create if they were actors. You can push them around with the HEV.
Sure, you should be able to push them around. I like some of the maps have like cargo vehicles. I want to know why you can't like move them around a bit, drive them,
Physics. What you might
Destroy them.
destroy them. Sure, but that's all outside what we can do with the PS3.
I want to be able to fire up the partially completed war barges and so forth. Just glass a squad who's in the wrong place.
The rocket on Ashland.
Yes.
Levolution is the term that I've heard get thrown around a bit for that kind of stuff.
That's EA marketing.
There you go. That it was. But for Battlefield,
That's the stupidest name they could have invented.
Well, that's
I like-
EA.
Yeah, it's EA marketing.
it's like really epic stuff too, like break down a dam,
I mean,
close
Nah.
a gate.
you got to bear in mind
Nah.
that's not just regular marketing. That's EA marketing. It's like it's another level.
It's a mutated version.
Levolution.
I could just close
Oh, God.
a dang gate, open a door on a dust map. Come on.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Call of Duty's been doing that for a while.
Yeah, Call of Duty's also got quote unquote levolutions.
And they never called it that.
No.
Make a bus fall off.
Yeah, you make a bus fall off of a cliff, that kind of stuff.
Well, guys, what about the change in the skybox? Would that affect the performance of the game?
Skyboxes, I hear, are very performance cheap. I mean, but that's. I mean, I assume with a relatively static skybox. I don't know if you're trying to.
Most
Cheap
static
for
skyboxes
people.
are 2D JPEGs.
Yeah, I mean, like
JPEG.
the standard skyboxes that we have, those are incredibly cheap resource-wise. They cost like nothing.
I mean,
But
the original
effects
Eve Sky.
are not as much.
Oh, I've heard that the original Eve Skybox was originally sourced from 4 terabyte models of the various nebulas, 3D models, and they flew a camera around in it and took pictures to make the 2D Skybox that's in all the regions now.
That's awesome.
So instead of having 4 terabytes of nebulas, you got really small JPEG.
Another thing you could do, which actually would make a lot of sense, is if on a PC map, if the corporation owns the district, they could have banners hanging in the district displaying the corp logo.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That would actually make sense.
Hang out in your corp war barge.
Yeah. I mean, since all war barges have a giant Caldari, banner hanging there would be actually pretty cool if you could have that be corp specific and kind of instill that sense of corp pride with the logo and whatnot.
Be able to change the banner type too.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that's a lot of stuff that would be cool, but it's likely a lot of resource costs without really much gain.
Not the best use of our limited development
Oh,
resources.
dude, how about the April Fool's post? That was pretty fun.
I didn't actually see that one. What was it?
Frame did it was kind of like what would it be, like a Instagram type of thing?
Different filters and stuff.
Filters you could put on Dust, and some of them were like, try hard and proto stuff like that.
Several days afterwards, I had people coming up to me like, "Is this real? Did they really do this?" Like, no, they look at.
No, the best.
I want the proto stomp filter. I want to be able to turn that on.
And then so I think the official loser at April Fool's was I think it was Pyrex, who did the whole platform change thing that was just badly chosen.
I thought it was his the game is good post.
I don't recall.
There were several volleys of it.
Okay, I'm sure he tried really, really hard to be funny. But no, the best April Fool's joke to me was actually, and I think it probably went a little over the line since it went with it used our real life info and stuff. But Jadic actually made like a fake profile for CCP Rotati and copied like his entire LinkedIn profile into it, word for word, and then inserted a couple of extra jokes, and then showed him moving to Riot as a junior financial analyst.
I still have people wanting to. There's still people out there that want to create a Riot Corp in game and have the corp description be Feeder Corp for the CCP's Feeder Corp. Not that, you know what I mean. Reverse that.
Yeah, reverse that. I'm sure CCP would love to be getting a lot of Riot employees, but it doesn't work that way.
No.
But no, it was clever, and it was well put together. I thought Jadic must have spent a decent amount of time working on it. It was pretty funny.
I guess we should bring up. We'll save the PC discussion for another episode since we're already past the 1 hour mark. But for those of you who don't frequent the forums but listen to the show, Rotati set up a planetary conquest think tank. So if you visit the forums, I think the thread is under GD, general discussion. And basically, if you're a CEO of a corporation, you can send in an email, and he will he's setting up groups of people to talk and discuss about PC and all the aspects of the rework and whatnot. So you should get your email in soon. I imagine he wants to get started pretty quick here. So check out the general discussion on the forums and get in that thread and get your email in if you want to be involved in that discussion if you're a CEO.
And a note on that, if you're not a CEO, but you are the point person for your corp for PC, harass your CEO to get clearance to do it and go take their place, because it's not supposed to be exclusively CEOs. It's whoever's most in charge of that for your corp. It's just a matter of not wanting to have, the entire A team from every corp wanting a seat at the table and the whole thing becoming a circus.
Sounds good. Was there anything else on that cross that you guys know as CPM in terms of what's going on with that, or are we just in preliminary stages right now?
That's the big thing, is just to get a sit-down meeting to talk with these different groups or representatives of these different groups, and get that just one other additional avenue of feedback.
Yeah, this is CCP Rotati being a workaholic and devoting more time to Dust than is probably healthy, because all of this came about due to him working over the weekend while he even had company for part of the time, as I understand it. So he was playing with a spreadsheet in real time and discussing ideas, and eventually was like, you know what, this should happen. Let's do this. So it's very preliminary stages because almost all of it was formed while he was not even at work or technically working.
I wonder, like, what's like a dinner party like at Ritati's place? You're there, you're at dinner, and suddenly there's like paper copies of spreadsheets like covering the table, and I could
an array
picture
of
that.
tablets spread out across the table.
Sure.
Well, he does play tabletop 40K, so I'm sure that there's a lot of that sort of thing that can go on. I know from my days doing that, there were definitely books and figurines spread everywhere over tables. So.
People probably get presents from Ritati at Christmas time, and they're wrapped in printouts of various spreadsheets and instead of actual paper.
You get the special presents if you can recognize what the spreadsheet is telling you before you unwrap it.
It's all hidden code. Yeah, pretty funny.
It's just one of those things. I think that folks sometimes don't realize exactly how much above and beyond the current Dust team really goes. Just the number of times that I have had them contact me, and by me I really mean the CPM, not just me exclusively, over the course of weekends and holidays and so forth, or where they have other projects going on, just on their own time, because they are so focused on actually working on the game that it doesn't end when they leave work.
As I always say, you can look at Ritati when he's working at 4 a.m. his time on something. This is what sickness looks like. This is what addiction looks like. You know, honestly, the level of devotion to the game is, as Cross pushing the unhealthy levels. It's pretty insane how much he actually over time he puts in. From even what little exposure I've had to Ritati, I'm sure the CPM sees it even more so. The amount of work he puts in. So, you know,
not even once.
Pretty much. It really is an addiction, though. I mean, anyone who plays the game can know there's something about it that makes you care more than you probably should. And I think when you're in the middle of it, like Ritati is, it's off the charts. So, you know, props to that guy for all the work he does. It probably also explains why he gets so crabby when people bitch at him on the forums, and he's like, "Just shut up! You have no idea."
See, I have been up for literally 16 hours working on this. If you can't be civil to me, I'm going to go have a cup of coffee instead of listening to you. Goodbye.
That's my favorite thing about him is you're very rarely getting much of a filter from him. It's not like, you know, he runs to PR to see if he can say something. He just says crud all the time. And you are going to get some real emotion out of that. If, you know, I'm not at all surprised if, you know, he works his butt off at something and you know, for like a week, and then someone's like, "This sucks," and, you know, I'd snap back too at times.
Well, I think that's a good
anyway,
thing, though.
Did I miss something? Because my computer blue screened for the first since I got it.
We were just giving worship and praise to our Lord and Savior.
Gaben?
No, this is not Gaben. Gaben is the Lord and Savior of the PC gamers, and we're Dust players.
I thought he was the devil, according to some folks.
Depends on perspective.
Some folks are heretics.
Maybe it's because I don't do the whole PC versus console thing, but I have not even the faintest idea who that is.
You do not know the love of Gaben?
Oh God, just tell him.
For a while, there was a problem with trying to sell computer games at a store. They were not buying too much shelf space, and it became a really big problem for PC gamers because you go to the store and there's console, and no PC games.
This is like a 5 mile thing. Okay, Cross, Gaben or Gabe Newell owns Valve, which makes Steam. Gaben is the Lord that brings us Steam, which brings us games. And he does these things called the summer sale, where games are very cheap.
All right, so I just hadn't heard the nickname. Also, I don't use Steam because they make me throw up in my mouth a little.
No, so we were worshiping and praising our Lord Ritati when you were gone.
All right.
Did you know Origin invalidates your games if you upgrade too much?
Did you know I don't use that piece of dread either?
Good, because I haven't been able to get a single game to work on it yet.
Oh, Origin works great. There's actually a few things that I like about Origin better than Steam, but it's, you know, there's hit and misses on each.
Within 48 hours, you can get a refund for the game if, for example, it stops working.
Oh no, it's not just 48 hours. I think it's 7 days now with Origin.
It's 7 days if you never install it.
Yeah.
40 hours if you just
7
Open
days
it
from
and see if
purchase or
it doesn't work.
48 hours from run.
Yeah.
Steam has no Steam on the opposite end of things has no refund policy. If for example you buy a game that does not run on your OS because it's a cruddy XP game, you're up creek. And if it does not work on Origin, you just return it and they give you your money back. No questions asked.
Whereas GOG has that policy, but it's for 30 days, and all the games are DRM free.
GOG is better than all of the above, but GOG doesn't get all of the like top end games. They get stuff like that's well past its normal life.
Or is indie and doesn't subscribe to the homogenization of AAA titles.
That too.
Okay, well, back to Dust.
I mean,
that was
right,
quite
back
the
to
diversion.
Dust. Back to Dust, yes.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anyways,
should we discuss our thing? We have our announcement.
We probably should. We're at the hour 15-minute mark.
Are you pregnant?
Congratulations.
Are you getting divorced?
He's having ferrets, baby ferrets.
Oh God.
This guy's on a bowling team now.
Dude, I'm gonna have this is gonna be one of those episodes I'm gonna have a hard time picking a name for the episode because there were just so many hilarious little things that could have been.
This is why we can't have nice things.
Yeah.
This is what happens when Jaysyn isn't here, that the episode just goes completely insane.
It's just off. We're off the rails. We are so far off the rails this week. It's not even funny. We're not even on the right day, for gosh sakes. It's Monday, by the way, for those listening on iTunes.
For me, it's Tuesday.
So, yeah, Pokey, why don't you pitch it?
Okay, so yeah, we decided to redo the Biomassed website because it was kind of cruddy and thrown together.
There's Jaysyn.
Seriously?
Yeah, he'll be here in a minute.
He heard how far off the rails it has gone.
He off the rails. He's coming in to save us from ourselves.
He's been listening and he's put on steel-toed boots now.
Just stop, guys. Just stop. Anyways,
don't make me pull the car over.
He's here. Get quiet. Hide the booze.
Hide.
Act natural.
Hey, Jaysyn, we weren't doing anything weird. I promise.
I have no words right now.
Why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Jaysyn Larison. I'm one of the co-hosts when I show up on the show, and I work with Oshia operations on Dust and Fly with Agony Unleashed on the Eve side. And I literally just came in from the well, not really an airport, but an airfield. So I've had a very long day.
Well, we're actually wrapping things up pretty quick here, but we are about to talk about the changes to the website. So, yeah, basically we've updated the Biomassed website, biomassed.net, and also soon to be biomassed.com because Zal paid way too much for the domain name, but we have it now.
It was, so the way this works, by the way, is just random sidebar on biomassed.com, which should, if all things go well, be ours in a couple of days. How this works is there's when you own like a .net or a .org or something like that, and the .com expires, you'll get like a spammer who wants to like massively upsell the cost, who will email you asking if you're interested. And I never respond to them because those spammers have a huge markup. But it's a nice notification. I actually find those spammers helpful because they tell me, oh, I might actually want to do this, and then I just go to GoDaddy and do it. But I bid on this, and it had no other bids. I waited till shortly before, and 5 minutes before the end of the auction, it was going to be $12. Someone bid up to $115, or at least I just saw one bid up, but my competitive nature kicked in. I wasn't going to let the bid sniper do it. I ended up, all said and done, I paid $133 for biomassed.com.
Hear the shame in his voice. Hear it.
Yeah, it was. I've never spent that much on a domain name in my life, and I do feel some shame. But I wasn't gonna.
This is what sickness looks like.
Yes.
I wasn't gonna let him win, and it is ours. But so, anyways, back to the topic. We have a blog. We need writers. We're gonna do a blog. We're gonna try and cover Dust stuff. There's a little bit of Eve stuff, maybe some Valkyrie stuff, other CCP stuff. I might throw in some Star Citizen. Who knows? We'll try and keep it interesting. But we're gonna need some help getting blog authors and people to write articles. So contact us if you're interested.
Promotion right now appeared. Dust.
Oh, okay,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. So I guess there's a new promotion for Dust right now. I guess 14 days long. It's going to be 25% off the 225,000 Aurum pack, a discount on the Quaif Commando suits, and a plus 25% loyalty point booster, which would go well with the event, which we'll talk about in a second. But yeah, we need writers for the blog. So if you guys are interested, contact us. You can go to biomassed.net or .com soon. Click on the content tab, the contact us tab, and you can get our emails and you can message any of us, and we'll get you set up. I know Zell has a system he's using for all of this.
It's pretty simple. You know, people will you'll be set up as a contributor there. You'll be able to write the articles, and then one of us who will act as editors will go ahead and approve them for posting and post them. But you know, and it can be pretty varied. It can be, you know, we're going to need to cover the actual news of the day that comes through from CCP, and we're also going to have opinion posts, of which I wrote one.
Yeah, you can talk about that briefly if you want.
Briefly. Jayson's going to tell me how much he doesn't like my document. No.
No, Kane will do that this time. Jaysyn will do it later.
Oh, I got both. That's right. I have both Kane and Jaysyn in here. So basically, I wrote up a thing. It is basically a list of my personal thoughts on what I think we should do to modify the CPM white paper based on lessons learned from this year. And just some minor housekeeping notes. Some of the biggest items would be that I know that the CSM this year has reduced its age requirement to 18 or legal adulthood if you're in a country where it's higher than 18, as opposed to the current 21 that's on our CPM white paper. And one of the other big things is to kind of work with is the term limit definition is somewhat. In one place, I think it's too strict, and in one place, it's too ambiguous. It says it should be like exactly 12 months, and then it also says, but with whatever, you know, reasonable accommodations that CCP feels necessary or something like that. And I think that should probably be better defined. And then the other thing that was on there that was kind of my big thoughts is that obviously we have not had a CPM summit this year. That I think has certainly hurt us. It's hurt the community. I think the notion of minutes from a summit is very valuable, particularly early on in the term of a CPM. It would be to me an ideal situation if we didn't get out to make a physical summit, that there was an option to do it as a virtual summit instead, but with the same sort of reporting and minutes requirements as a physical summit, to make sure that we don't lose out on that summit opportunity because we're waiting to get to the physical summit.
If you give CCP an out, they'll take it.
They don't have an out right now, and they took it anyways. so I mean, we're you know, as
they don't exactly have an in either.
As Ritati noted during FanFest, you know, the likelihood of us getting a summit this term is not fantastic.
Well,
and obviously I would like to have had something this year, and I think that we did have of a sort early on in the year. We had kind of what I referred to as a mini summit. We had a bunch of meetings with them back to back in short order. But it wasn't really officially a summit, so there wasn't that requirement that there be, you know, the minutes and the stripping those of NDA information so they can be publicly presented to everyone. And I think it would have been far better off if we did have that.
I think the face-to-face summit is something that's very important to still strive for. I see this more as, you know, CCP kind of being in a weird spot with Dust. You know, financial issues notwithstanding. But I think moving forward, though, it's still important to have the face-to-face summit at the beginning of the term so you can build those real human connections between the CPM and the CCP. We've been very lucky to start off with because, CPM 0 ended up
Got
going
2
to
free trips to FanFest.
Yeah,
Yes.
went to FanFest twice, and so we ended up with that very first face-to-face meeting with most of the Dust team. That can, I mean, granted, some of them stopped, didn't continue to work for CCP, but then we also did have the advantage of a lot of CPM 1 members attending FanFest 2014. Either via CPM 0, such as with Iron Wolf, or via just people coming along like Kevil and
Funny enough, the people who went the previous year to FanFest were the CPM 1 who didn't come to, like, all of the CPM 1 who didn't go to FanFest this year were at FanFest last year. So everyone on CPM 1 has met everyone.
Yeah, and you're not going to always be able to count on that kind of luck in terms of people getting that face-to-face meeting, building up those relationships.
And
that's just that's my concern. I would rather have it in the paper, have it in the white paper, and then CCP explain why it didn't happen this year.
Yeah, well, and I mean, I fully think that it should, and I absolutely, would love to hear suggestions on how to word it. I would love to. I would not want to say that it should be easy to pass on having a summit, but that there should at the very least be that we should have something. We have to have something.
The way I would do it.
Let me ask you a question. So, since I know,
let Kane give his piece.
Sure. The way I would do it is make it to where you always have the option to create minutes for a meeting, which then CCP goes and strips NDA information from. So it's like a switch that the CPM can opt to flip in consultation with CCP. So let's say you have your little digital summit, so you flip the switch to log the minutes and have CCP review those minutes.
Okay.
Guys, my question is, now last year Mike Azariah was in charge of the Dust part of Eve, and none of those minutes were released at all. So is the CSM, are they actually getting
they'll never
a
be
Dust? Are they getting a Dust anything that our guys are not getting?
No.
That you know of.
There's reasons that those minutes were not released. I don't think they would necessarily be the most harmful thing ever to have those minutes actually come out. But there's a lot of stuff that was just talked about that's just, it would confuse people because it just wouldn't apply.
The thing is they, like, that was in one particular summit they did have a Dust session, and the CPM 0 were present for that. But like the summits since then have not had anything Dust related on the agenda.
Still think that it was like one of the things they actually included the CPM in most of the sessions for the summit. I still think that's something that's worthwhile for the CPM to be able to listen in on as a matter of getting a feel for the CSM procedures and stuff like that.
In a lot of ways, that would be my kind of solution to what we've faced as far as getting a summit now, is just set it up so that it is attached to and or around FanFest, because there's already the infrastructure. Devs are going to be there anyway. You can get the FaceTime.
Work well for CPM 0.
But many of the problems are to do with the fact that it's Shanghai.
Yeah, it's the problems were not because it was FanFest. It was because someone people didn't actually set aside the time to actually execute the plans for FanFest and stuff like that. It's a lot easier, both because of the way getting into China works and stuff like that. It's a lot easier to fly people to Iceland than it is to fly them to Shanghai.
Yeah, and in some cases less expensive as well.
But I want to go to Shanghai. Iceland is pretty cheap, though. That's true.
Hey guys, my question here is, so our CPM is listening in on the CSM. Okay, now you may have more information on how the process works if no Shanghai devs also participate in listening in on how things are done. So there is this disconnect. You may be more up to date on how the whole CSM and the dev things work together if these Shanghai devs don't participate in listening in also.
Well,
Well, you have two problems. Is that one, it's in some cases it's more of a cultural difference in that they're not used to working with players in that process. And the other thing you have to bear in mind is that a lot of the devs in Shanghai do not speak English and cannot understand the summit.
Ching chong ding dong.
Also note that at the time that the CPM 0 was sat in on the CSM summit, there was actually a lot more shared devs between the studios at that time,
and more plans for more connection between the games.
Jaysyn, you were saying something earlier.
Yeah, I tend to agree a little bit with Kane on this, is that it would be a lot better to retain a higher standard in your white paper, and then because you have a little bit negotiating power is very relative in this kind of relationship, but the reality is they would have to at least engage you in some form of conversation. You think about why you're not having a summit of some form, and then you could probably be in a little bit better position to bring them down to the virtual summit like you were talking about, or whatever. As if they decided to not have a summit at all, you could squeeze that out of them. Because here's the reality: it was written in your current white paper to have an in-person summit, right?
That's
Yes.
correct.
But you didn't have one. So if you write it
That's
in your
also
summit, but if you write it in the white paper, or you update the white paper where you even have a lower bar, they don't really have to adhere to that either.
Yeah, it's classic. You're negotiating from a weaker position because you've neutered the white paper.
But remember, the white paper is very much a relative construct. It's not a binding document, but what it allows you to do is the only real leverage that you hold, is effectively saying, CCP, you said that you were going to do this and you approved this white paper. It's not even a roadmap or X, Y, Z, from game design, but you said you were going to talk to us as player representatives, and this is the format it was going to be in, and now you're not doing it. That is ultimately about the only, sort of public outcry is almost the only option that you really have that's like a feasible or practical option if things, were to degrade in terms of a relationship. And it probably doesn't sound like it would right now because you have a good relationship with Rattati and Rouge and so
yeah,
so
I mean
forth.
that's
personality dependent.
I think both you and Kane have a fair point on that, and I agree with you. I'm going to go with that. I agree. But I do just want to note that we do actually have a very good relationship with everyone at CCP Shanghai right now, and we're we know what things are up and why it didn't happen. But it's I want to make sure that my biggest thing is just ensuring that players have some sort of minutes documentation that's a mandate, that it has to happen and that it's easily attainable to make sure that happens in the future. Because that was a big failing during the term of CPM1.
So did they give you a reason why you guys didn't do a summit?
Hey guys, how about split the difference? How about have the summit in Hawaii? It's in the middle of the Pacific.
I would be cool with that. I would take a flight to Hawaii. We should try that one.
Zell, you would be more out of place in Hawaii than you were in Iceland.
That's true, actually, because in Iceland everyone's as pale as I am. So, no, but no, that's funny.
Did they give you a reason though for why you didn't have a summit?
I would not be inclined to share that information.
Is it you don't want to, or is there NDA?
I can't share. I can't talk about that now.
Yeah, it has been made clear. I'm actually completely comfortable with the reasons why, but they are definitely NDA.
Okay.
And once Cross says it, now you'll believe it.
No, not real.
Nobody believes it when I say it.
It's not that I don't believe you. It's just it further underscores the point of what exactly do you think the white paper is supposed to do? Like, what do you think that is actually supposed to achieve in terms of establishing and at least providing norms for the relationship between the player base's representatives and the company with which makes the game that the players all play in?
Well, I mean, it is, I guess, a guideline more than a rule. But the idea being,
are we pirates now?
That's the illusion I was making. Thank you for picking it up. but I mean the goal should be to be something that is attainable to follow, and if it's not attainable, I want to make sure that we get something in its stead. But it's just it's a good point though. I agree with both of you that it really should keep in the white paper where it is, that there needs to be a physical summit, and if if it's not possible, then we need to be negotiating for what we can provide players in alternative.
Yeah.
Which is not what happened in this year.
And that's something you guys can negotiate outside of the white paper.
Yeah, I agree.
The H thing, was it just because the CSM did it, or was that tied to?
That's entirely just because the CSM did it. It made sense that the CSM did it. It actually, like, from just like a random sidebar point, is, as far as I know, because we're console players, and I think Eve has a fairly older player base, I think we may have like a younger average in general, so it's odd for them to have a lower age requirement than we do. But it's just like, our papers always, was in many degrees a mirror of the CSM white paper, or at least from the rule standpoints, and it makes sense to me to make that change. I mean, I also put other like relatively mundane and inane changes. Like, there's a notation I think in there that all CPM CCP communications are supposed to be done via email or the forums, and I'm like, 98% of our communication is on Skype, so we probably should note that it's whatever.
You don't need to change. The thing is, it's an accountability document. That stuff's okay to have. It's better to just leave it there. I understand where you're coming from.
Well, no, it's not to say that you would remove it, but to say that is that it should be, an agreed upon communication method, more than a specifically dictated method that nobody is actually using. I mean, like, I think the CSM started using like Slack or something, and Slack is a terrible thing that nobody should ever use, but whatever.
Wait, what? Say that again? Using Slack?
Slack is terrible.
No, but who's using it?
I think the CSM started using Slack. I'm not sure.
God.
No, they're not.
What they use? They have. I know they start using Confluence, right?
Yeah, they use Confluence, but they use Skype primarily.
I mean, I thought I heard something about Slack. I know there's.
There's Slack channels in it, but no, it's not their primary mechanism of communication.
Goonfeet moved to Slack, but that's all I know about Slack.
I didn't say primary. I said started using. So I don't know. I don't know why anyone would ever get Slack, but apparently some people did, because it's trendy. Whatever.
You uttering the phrase, "I don't know why anyone would ever get Slack," explains so much about a lot of the CSM meetings, or the CPM meetings this year.
Was there anything else you want to talk about your post, Zell?
I think that was the bulk of it. Leave feedback, leave comments on biomass.net. Please participate. We do need writers. Please volunteer to write articles. We cannot pay you because we do not make any money, and I just sunk $133 into a domain name. But
the shame.
Yeah. It's Dust doesn't have, like, there used to be, I think, more Dust blogs, and there really aren't now. I haven't heard anybody really doing a lot in the Dust blogging space, and so I think it's a little underserved right now, and I think we can do it. My goal, if I was to try and sum it up, is I would love to be able to say that we covered Dust as well as the Matani.com covers Eve, and that we cover Eve as well as the Matani.com covers Dust.
Which isn't very good.
Yeah, well, the point being that we'd covered Dust very well, and a little bit of Eve, as opposed to the Matani, which covers Eve very, very well, and just has a little bit of Dust.
Oh, Soraya, hey, you think about putting a donate tab on your site? That way you can
we have actually discussed
things?
that. We were talking about Patreon and stuff, but I was unthrilled with the notion. Like, I think the proposed concept was like the initial default that Patreon suggests is like $1 a month, and then you find out that processing fees eats like 30 cents out of each transaction minimum. So you're already losing a third of. You're going to lose a third if people are putting in like $1 a month. So it's. I think it's definitely something we should probably open up because we do, believe it or not, have some pretty decent expenses between those of us running this whole thing, and but we just haven't done it and made a decision on it.
Also, if you want something on the site but don't want to do the actual writing, you can also let us know. If there's any player-run event or something going on, we have no issue putting that up on the site.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like
send us emails, hit us up on Skype, whatever. We don't care. Just get in touch with us. Tell us to do stuff. We'll do it. We'll do all sorts of stuff. We'll do whatever you want.
Don't tell them that. Killer's like, what? in the Skype channel. But I'll actually use this as a segue because I'll do a shout out for it right now. But apparently there is a player-run event happening during the event that's coming this week. Mobius is posted up on the forums, and I'll actually get a post on the blog about this. But I guess they're doing a cross stream or a combined stream event where they're going to be streaming.
Never do that.
Never cross the streams, but they're going to try it. Where they're going to be streaming Dust and Eve at the same time, showing you basically the same battle from different perspectives. So that's going to be pretty cool. I'm going to get some links from them on where you can get those streams. We'll get a blog post up about that so you guys can check it out. But yeah, that's going to be on during this coming event, which is starting on April 9th.
On Friday.
Is it Friday? I thought it was on the 9th that it was starting.
Thursday the 9th.
I mean the stream. I'm pretty sure it starts on Friday.
Oh, the stream.
Oh, the stream starts Friday. Okay. Well, the event is a LP event. It's starting on Friday, April 9th. And it's going to be running for a week. And I think it's plus 50% LP. Am
25.
I correct?
25.
Plus 25. Okay.
Plus 50. The plus 50k ISK for every win. It's not tied to your race like it was last time. Thank goodness.
Okay, so yeah, you can get some extra LP and some extra ISK from playing the game this coming week, and that streaming event will be going on at the same time. So be sure to check that out.
Be more pleasing matchmaking wise during FAC War events, so it should be more fun FAC War than the usual drudgery of staring at the queue number.
Hey guys, we ought to tell the other EVE podcasts about this, because I know there's a lot of EVE pilots out there in faction warfare that do like to provide orbitals. So if there's going to be a lot more Dust player base in faction warfare, they may have the opportunity to get some LP also by doing orbitals, if we could let them know that.
Yeah, we're attempting to do that on EVE. Mobius put up a post in general discussions.
Jay, are you going on Podside this week?
Probably not. I got to fly back out tomorrow.
Okay.
Also, I just checked. It's 50% increase to LP. So yeah,
okay, that's what I thought.
25%.
Hey, just a quick question: has that been clarified? Like, do you need to ride one race or not?
No, it should be just across the board benefits for whatever faction you're playing.
Yeah, just straight win. It's straight wins and straight LP bonus for whichever faction you play for.
It's not faction tied, which is great.
Woohoo.
Okay. Well, no, I was just kind of curious because of the little teaser post that Rattati put up about really wanting to save up your LP and all this other jazz. So I thought that alluded to one of two things. Either one, it was some sort of really more likely is maybe some sort of racial gizmo BPO suit or whatever at the end that they were going to cough up.
We actually talked about this earlier in the show. The Rattati also mentioned on the same day or similar or close to that they were talking about LP skins.
Oh, okay.
As in factional,
Navy skins
and shit like that.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, yeah. I guess that's kind of a motivator. I mean, whatever.
Jay's heart just sunk.
No, not really. I would be more impressed if he would say something to the effect of there's going to be teams playing faction warfare, but if it's just about skins, I mean, there's plenty of skins in the game. I've got more drop suits than I can wear at one time, so it's okay.
This goes along with the new skin system that CCP is apparently working on, where you can apply it to anything.
Have you seen that thing in Sissy? That thing is shit hot.
Wait, we can actually see it now?
I
The Eve
Eve
Online
side.
side.
The Eve skin system. Yeah.
You can see the
Oh.
lettering and the descriptions of it. You can't actually see it.
Yeah,
see
it's
it.
not in space
Yeah,
yet.
that's what I was wondering. I knew we could see the item in CC, but I didn't know if you could actually see it.
Yeah, I think it's coming up pretty soon, like in the next week or two. But the way that they're doing it is actually really, really smart because they're basically tying it to the player like a skill. And so it's effectively a license, but
Yeah.
it's tied to you, not your ship. And that's a fucking genius way to do it. And it's pretty smart.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to see them finally doing some of that sort of stuff. I think they should that should have been something they should have had working years ago, and it's just
Well, I mean, there's a lot of discussion about that. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, if you're actually playing to win, you're generally so zoomed out of your ship you'll never see it. The only time you see your ship is spinning it in station.
But again, I mean, you're not like you're zoomed out for big player fights, that sort of thing. That's not. I mean, that's the veteran experience. But the big thing for me with Eve is what new players see and feel, and like not be like when you have a game that is so crippled that your ship is your character for all intents and purposes, not being able to customize that character at all is kind of rough. Insert my comments about Incarna and why they should be working on it. But yeah.
And before
It's-
they
no, I'm-
they gave Capsuleers drop suits without helmets before we get faces.
Yeah, I'm glad to see the skin system, and I'm very excited about it for both Eve and Dust.
Did you guys, by any chance, talk about the parallels they've gotten, the proposed SOV change, and what Rattati put out in terms of the framework?
We totally didn't get to SOV, and we're already we managed an hour and 47 episode without touching SOV so far.
No, I just wanted to know how far off the field that you guys went and how little structure and content you were actually able to provide in my absence.
We went so far off field.
Just don't listen to the episode, please.
Yeah.
We were talking about cleaning PlayStation 3s with a vacuum.
It was
so-
great though. Yeah, we were
I'm sorry,
seriously
what?
like we were talking about how far off the rails we were because Jay wasn't here, and then
They
you
didn't
showed
walk.
up.
They ran away from the PC discussion. They tabled it for next episode, sadly.
Well, because it was like 45 minutes in, I knew it was going to be like an hour discussion.
And we
Dear
hadn't
God.
talked about the fact we had a blog yet, and Jay wasn't here, and Jay's got to get in on the whole, so he can bring his Eve Sov thing because he likes to toot the Eve horn all the time.
Actually, the only thing I had on my agenda was there was a pretty nice video put up by True on Twitter about comparing PlanetSide and Dust. He's in the PS4 beta. He's put up a pretty nice video describing the customization options that you have for infantry and vehicles and stuff like that. And he's got a pretty positive spin on PlanetSide too, at least the console version right now. I was curious to actually see because I didn't know Kat was going to be on tonight, but I know Kat is involved in the beta as well, and I was kind of curious to hear you guys' thoughts on it. But we can save that for another time, when we actually have an agenda and topics and shit like that.
Well, the agenda was going to be PC, but then it just turned into a mess.
Yeah. You guys might want to check your emails because they sent out a huge wave of codes. I got 3 codes myself for the beta, so.
Yeah, I may have to dig into that then.
Yeah, I've been hearing they've been going into spam folders, so check there as well.
Yeah, I have 1 spare code for EU if any of you guys want it.
Okay, cool beans.
Okay, well, PC and Sob aside, are there any other topics you guys wanted to tackle real quick? We're at an hour and 50 minutes here, so we got to wrap this up soon. Okay, I'll take that as a no. So we'll probably move into shout-outs here. We'll just go from the top then with Catmerk.
Yeah, shout out Pokey and Cross, both for being hits, one being late, one being large. And that's about it.
Okay, Cross.
Shout out to, really everyone over in the DFG channel for making my generalized insanity and moments of dust-related sickness more bearable and amusing, generally speaking, and for somehow turning a night that I thought was going to be eaten by spreadsheets into discussions of music. You know who you are, and thank you for keeping me less insane.
All right, Iron Wolf.
Dang it. I don't think I got one this week.
Oh, come on, man. We make Zell do it every week. You got to come up with something.
Fine, then. I'm going to give a shout out to the Biomassed channel for tolerating me every week when I'm really a terrible person at times.
That's a cop-out shout-out, man. That's just like I'll just shout out to this channel. That'll work. I have a shout
You
out.
want to talk.
I have a shout out this week. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it right now. I'm gonna crash the order and do it now because I feel like it. I'm gonna
Because
get
you have to destroy the structure. Okay,
I'm
go
gonna-
for it.
Sir Azazel.
I'm giving my shout out to CCP Aquahead because we have another dev posting on the forums.
How do you say his name?
I said Aquahead. It's like AQUAR head.
Just say the new guy. It's not like we're going to get any more soon.
Yeah, it's a good point. There's only so many
The
of
new
them.
guy. It's really great to see another dev voicing up on the forums and daring to brave our the
Cesspit.
yeah that's where my shout out goes today.
Okie dokie. Jaysyn Larson.
Let me see. I'm running out of shout outs here, so I'll have to throw out. I'm gonna give a huge, massive shout out to Ryan Reynolds and the fact that Deadpool will be coming in February.
Oh God, I knew that had to come.
Because you can always come to me if you're a daily Deadpool. So just I think I would start off with that one as a good one. And I want to shout out to Kevin Costner. Huge fan. You know why you should shout out to Kevin Costner, Soraya?
Why?
Do you believe in Kevin Costner?
Field of Dreams.
I believe he exists. I don't have any particular belief in him beyond that.
Okay, well, let me tell you what I believe in then about Kevin Costner. I believe in the soul, the cock, the pussy, the small of a woman's back, the hanging curve ball, high fiber, good scotch, and the new novels of Susan Sontag are absolutely self-indulgent, overrated crap. I believe that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. I believe that there ought to be a constitutional amendment outlawing AstroTurf and the designated hitter. I believe that the sweet spot, the softcore pornography, opening your presents on Christmas morning instead of Christmas Eve. And I believe in long, slow, wet, deep, soft kisses that last 3 days. That's why you shout out to Kevin Costner.
Okay, well, I'm glad we put an explicit tag on iTunes.
Oh dear. All right, Kane Spero.
Usual shout out to the crazy community that keeps on playing. Also to the vets. May they hopefully survive the transitionary period of matchmaking, and also to Negative Feedback Alliance.
Cool. Luther.
My shout out goes to you guys, Wasteland Junk Removal, the Cobra, even Contraband Joe and Faction Warfare Army, and to all the scrubs out there that one day will be involved in PC.
We can only hope. I will give my shout out to everyone who has been listening to us. Like I said, we're at 48 weeks now, which is pretty cool. Please check out our website. It's new and improved, and get us in the email if you want to write for us. That'd be great. Also, shout out to CCP Rotati, also known as CCP Crusher. Go home, look in the mirror, and say the words, "This is what sickness looks like" on those long nights, and you're still working on dust at who knows what hour. So, thanks again, man. We appreciate all the hard work, even if you need to sleep more and be less crabby.
For the record, CCP Crusher has now made matchmaking my Kobayashi Maru.
Oh, that's great. But yeah, that's all we got for this week, guys. Hopefully next week Jaysyn will be around and won't be as psychotic because I can't keep these guys on topic. So with